This is Alli Worthington, and you are listening to the Radical Radiance Podcast.
Alli, it's so good to be back with you. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me on the show. It's an honor.
I am super excited. It's always good to talk to an East Tennessee girl, and I feel like we have so much in common. I first of all need to know about Discovery Cove. I've been waiting for this conversation to ask you all about Discovery Cove, and we're going to talk all about your book here in like just a minute, but I need to give you like a core memory from my childhood.
Oh, yes.
I've been like waiting to talk to you about this. So when I was a child, I don't know if I've ever shared this on the show. I was obsessed with dolphins. Like had a dolphin bedroom, kind of obsessed with dolphins. Had like the little cutouts of wallpaper, like dolphins are like swimming in my room. I had the dolphin comforter. Room was painted lavender purple, like the whole 9 yards. I wanted to be a dolphin trainer until all that happened at SeaWorld. But it's always been my dream to go to Discovery Cove and swim with dolphins. So when you went, I have just been like saving this in my back pocket because I want to hear about it. Was it awesome?
It's pretty great. I actually went twice this summer, which is excessive.
Okay.
I know. At the beginning of June, I took my team. And then, because I'm a business coach, I came back and a bunch of my clients said, well, why don't you take us on fun trips? And I was like, well, son of a gun, I guess we can. So the weekend before the book came out, the first weekend of August, I took a bunch of clients down there. We did it again.
So
I think it's
fun.
Hilarious that I have a business that I get to go on vacations.
Right?
With people. It is amazing. Discovery Cove is the most amazing place. You go in, they have a lazy river. They built their own coral reef so you can snorkel with rays and tropical fish. They have their own version of scuba diving where they put a helmet on your head and you walk around underwater. And the dolphins are amazing. And they have little attitudes. Like sometimes they want you to like ride on their fin and have a good time. But then sometimes they just swim away to go visit somebody else because they're their own people.
They're living their life.
I will tell you, I am a sucker for a photo op. And I knew I was going to have photos taken when I was riding that dolphin. So I grabbed the fin and then I turned my head to the side and like big old cheesy smile, right? Because I want to get this picture. Salt water. I just die of salt water in my mouth and just like a wave coming in the whole time. So luckily I recovered and the picture looked great. But
that's all that matters.
I still have a tummy full of salt water. I'll tell you that.
That is awesome. Well, I'm speaking in Orlando next month, and I'm so tempted to take the late flight the next day and go before I fly home. So I'm like seriously considering it.
You should. And if you're an amusement park person, SeaWorld does own Discovery Cove. So you get a Discovery Cove ticket, and then you get an add-on SeaWorld. You literally go across the street and ride a couple roller coasters. That's what I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
it would be wrong not to.
That's how I feel.
I will go speak in Orlando anytime. I should just
like you want me to turn somersaults on the street, like anything you want me to do to get me to Orlando.
Just bring me down. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. I love that. Well, if I go, I will let you know. I'm so excited.
You should.
Well, we're here to talk about your book, which I'm so excited about. It is called Remaining You While Raising Them, The Secret Art of Confident Motherhood. And we talked a little bit about this before you hit record. You said, you're so sweet. You're not a mom yet. And yet you want to talk about this book. But there's a reason why, because I love how you have positioned this message. It feels so altogether different from a lot of other motherhood books that I have seen. And so having known you for a while, and then seeing this message, I just want to hear what got you excited about tackling motherhood in this way.
Well, I'll tell you, I did not want to tackle it at all because as a writer, there's a couple things that I always said I would never touch, and that's marriage or parenting, because I didn't want to get divorced and I didn't want a child go to prison, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to touch those topics. But I was serving on the teaching team of a church for a couple of years, and Mother's Day came around. They said, we want you to do Mother's Day, but don't do Mother's Day like everyone does Mother's Day. Do Mother's Day like Alli. Just, we know you, go for it, have fun with it. And I thought, okay. So I did. And just kind of laid out there my philosophy and where we are with motherhood right now, and that it's just breaking us, and just had a blast. And everyone went, why isn't this a book? And so I surveyed my audience to figure out, is this even a need? And so I did this massive survey, over 1,000 women, to talk about motherhood. And I said, what was the last motherhood book you've read? And most of them couldn't give me a motherhood book. They gave me a parenting book. But then they gave me the name of the parenting book, and then they said, I stopped reading it halfway through. It made me feel terrible. Or I wish I never read this because it made me feel so guilty. And that's when I realized we are in a culture of, with I think good intentions, people writing books about how to be good moms that just make women feel terrible.
Yeah.
And the truth is, being a good mom isn't following a step-by-step plan that somebody put a crown on their head and decided they are a king or queen of parenting and can decide this. Like, just because you're a pediatrician or just because you have a 2-year-old doesn't mean you get to tell people what it means to be a good mom.
That's right.
So I went about it completely different of, it's not so much what you do, but who you are. So let's take care of the women, because if more is caught than taught, we got to give kids something to catch. But if women are dying on the vine while we're caring for kids, there's nothing to give.
Well, and when I think about that title, Remaining You While Raising Them, that feels like what I would imagine every mom wants their reality to be. And yet the messages we hear in the world and or the way that we talk about motherhood is everything but that, right? And so I know you talk about a lot of myths that we hear in relation to motherhood. So what are some of the most common ones that you've kind of discovered along the way?
Yeah, I'll go over 2 and just give them a really broad brushstroke.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to talk about these 2. Number 1, if I'm a good mom, my kids will be well behaved. That's a biggie, because we kind of forget that we're not God and we can't control our children. You know, an older mom, when my kids were little, I was saying my kids had done this terrible thing and I was feeling so bad. And she said, not everything your kids do is about you. And I was like, what? They're with me all day. This is totally about me. And she said, do you consider God your father? I said, well, yes. And she goes, well, every time you do something wrong, is that his fault? Is he a bad father to you? And I was like, no, of course not. It's me. She said, it's that way with your children. Because our kids, their behavior is, yes, some of it's parenting. A lot of it's genetic and a lot of it's environment. And kids are going to be kids. We want kids to do all sorts of bad things while they're living in our house so we can help them make better decisions before they get out in the world. So that's one. Another one is that good moms should be able to do it all. And, you know, I'm a movie person. I love the movie Wonder Woman. Yeah. She's got those fabulous gold cuffs. You know, she blocks bullets. She doesn't make any mistakes. She wakes up like that, looking perfect and amazing.
That's right.
But if we were like a super mom to our kids and we didn't make mistakes, we didn't yell when we get angry, we didn't, you know, drop the ball on things or, you know, not read the folder after we picked our kid up from preschool and get in trouble with the preschool teacher. Ask me how I know. If we didn't make all of these mistakes and raised our children perfectly, our kids would be completely handicapped going out in the world. They wouldn't know what it looks like to, when you screw up, make it right. They wouldn't know how to repair relationships. They wouldn't have empathy for imperfect people because they're so used to it. In fact, there's some research from the former head of the American College Counselors Association who said the kids, this was about 5 years ago, the kids they're seeing in college now are completely incapable of handling life. Anxiety, full of issues because their parents have essentially overparented. And there is this big worry from great moms that I hear all the time. Well, wait, if I do less and I take care of myself a little more, will that make me become a bad mom? And I had a ton of Christian therapists speak into this book because I didn't want this to be Alli's opinion alone.
Sure.
You know, I wanted research and I wanted therapists in here. And I said, I have these great moms who are concerned, like if they dial it back a little bit and not overfunction, they're going to be bad moms. They're going to get selfish. And one of the therapists said, I've never had a narcissist walk in my office and go, can you help me for my narcissism? And I said, what does that have to do with parenting? She said, stay with me. She said, the people who read this book, they are automatically great moms because that's what great moms do. No bad mom is going to read the book. And if we know moms are kind of over functioning at 200, if they dial it back to 100, they're just fine. Yeah. So you couldn't pay a bad mother to listen to this conversation or to read that book. Just like you couldn't get a narcissist to walk into a counselor's office and go, give me help for my narcissism. Yeah. So I think that's the answer, that we're so hard on ourselves. We're doing so much for our children and we're constantly beating ourselves up all the time. When research shows that parents spend twice as much time actively parenting their children than the generation before, but we're beating ourselves up like we're not doing a good enough job. Yeah. We're doing a great job.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, as I have seen this book come across my desk and seeing it come out into the world, I have several mom friends that I'm buying this book for, just as they've come to mind and thinking about, like, I've seen maybe that myth bubble up in them. And I just know Alli would be able to encourage them. So I'm thinking about it from my perspective, not being a mom yet, there are moments in my friendships where I'll see something bubble up in my mom friend. And because I'm totally on the outside of motherhood, you just see it from a different perspective, right? So you hear about the mom guilt or you hear about whatever. And maybe there's some friends listening where like they're a little heartbroken for their mom friend who's functioning at 2, and they want to point them back to truth and they want them to operate at 100 rather than 2. How do we do that well in our friendships? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a blessing and a curse to be able to see things clearly when you're not in the middle, in the thick of it.
Yeah.
I think that just constantly giving mom friends who are in the middle of that storm encouragement is key. I love the idea of giving them the book because that's going to get the lessons across that sometimes people just don't want to hear from their friends, you know, or can't hear from their friends or are just too touchy about it. So I think that's just continue encouragement and continue to give good resources. That's the key.
Yeah,
I mean, I remember when I had 2 kids, I had a good friend who had 5. And I used to watch her and she would be so calm and so unbothered by her little ones, you know, crawling all over playground equipment that looked really dangerous. And I was hovering over my 2. And I at once was astounded and so impressed that she could be so calm and carry on a conversation with so many children. But then at the same time, kind of worried about her that she wasn't more concerned.
Right.
And it wasn't until I had 5 that I was like, oh, I get it. You just make peace with a lot of craziness. But if I had that point had been like, hey, friend, why are you doing it this way? She would have had nothing to do with me.
Totally. Totally. Yeah. I specifically remember going on a run with a mom friend of mine, and she was processing mom guilt with me about 5 years ago. And she was really struggling. And to me, of course, you know, I'm like the achiever 25-year-old training for a marathon. I have all the time in the world. I'm not married. I have this great career. And I'm like going along running thinking like, let it go. Like, you were an incredible mom. All the things that were going through my mind were what didn't need to come out of my mouth. Right. Yeah. And so that's why I keep coming back to the title, Remaining You While Raising Them. Like that's a sermon in itself, you know? Yeah.
Well, and there's some really unhealthy, whether it's implicit or explicit messages that Christian women get, that the highest calling of a woman's life is to be a mother, and that children are, you know, kind of take the role of God in their lives. And our high calling is to be a worshiper of the Lord. That's what we're supposed to do. Not all women are going to be mothers, want to be mothers. And I would say, fortunate sainthood of motherhood that the church sometimes does to women has done women a real disservice.
Yeah. I agree. Completely agree. I love all of the research that you do before you write and that you include in the book. And there's a couple stats that I think matter here. So you give some of the Barna stats that say 80% of mothers are stressed out. Yes. 70% are tired and 56% are overcommitted. And when I read that, I mean, I feel that for my mom friends. And so will you talk about, and you've touched on it, just the importance of emotional health in motherhood and how when we are well, I've heard you talk about this a lot, we're better able to care for our kids, right? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I consider emotional health the combination of mental health, spiritual health, and relational health, our relationships.
Yeah.
And because motherhood isn't just about what you do, it's about who you are. Who we are will leak out all around our family, right? I can remember when I was 8, I went to an extended family member's Christmas gathering. I will never forget it. Aunt Shirley, great Aunt Shirley.
We love her.
And we love her. She had been cooking for 3 days. She told me she had been cooking for 3 days. Opened the door with a big grin, welcomed me in. I didn't have the life experience or the language to understand what was going on, but I knew something was wrong.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure what it was, but it made me feel like I couldn't relax and I wasn't comfortable there. And it wasn't until I was much older that I learned that Aunt Shirley hated hosting. She didn't want to cook for 3 days. It was too much for her, but she didn't know that she had permission to raise her hand to go, hey, I need help. Everybody bring a dish, or we're going to switch houses every couple of years. And I realized before I took care of my emotional health, I was Aunt Shirley. And Aunt Shirley did everything she did to be loving. She did it because she thought that was what a good woman did and a good mom. But over the years, she became resentful about it and she became bitter. And that bitterness leaked out everywhere, even though everything she was doing was from a place of love. And that's what I want to help women understand, that if we don't take care of us, no matter what motions we go through and all the things we do to be a quote unquote good Christian mom, no matter what we do, if we aren't okay on on the inside, that leaks everywhere. So that's why it's so important. It's not that we can say, oh, I'll worry about myself later. I'm just going to focus on the kids right now. There's no later. Sometimes the best thing we can do for our kids is just to focus on us.
Yeah. This is your life. Like these 18 years that you're spending with them in your house is a good chunk of your life, right?
Yeah. And the natural overflow of us doing the work on ourselves is a happier and healthier marriage and a happier and healthier household. And it's important for us as women to model for our daughters and our sons what emotional health looks like. We want to teach women that they're valuable and they're valuable to be cared for, even when we're caring for ourselves, and teach our sons that women are to be respected and valued. There's no benefit to train the next generation that motherhood is just suffering and martyrdom.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we all know how the world defines a good mom, right? That's what we're pressing back against in this message. And so after writing this entire message and having all of these conversations, doing all the research, if you were given the opportunity to redefine the good mom and what it would take to embody truly a good mom who is emotionally healthy, describe her to me.
I love that. I think it comes down to a woman who loves God, who is able to love herself so she can love her family, so she can love her kids. A woman who is kind of in tune with herself to be able to say, this is who I am as a person, separate from my children. Because what happens is when our kids are little, we're kind of one person even after they're born as they get older, especially the first year. But as they get older and older, and there should be more separation with them, therapists call it differentiation, where we go, we are different people. You are you, I am me. So she is separate from her children, but loving her children. But because she is emotionally separate from her children, there's not a chance of enmeshment. Because enmeshment is where we put our happiness and we put our self-worth on what's going on with our kids that day. So an emotional woman is a woman who views herself as separate, who values herself, but would fight a bear with a butter knife for her kids at the same time. Because it's not about loving them less. Our heart has capacity for more love. Just like we go from one child to 2 children to 3 and even more, our heart can love more and more and more. But we also sometimes have to learn to really love ourselves.
Yeah, I love that. So for our friends, including myself, who haven't stepped into motherhood yet, but desire to one day be a mom and think they'll walk down that path one day, and I want to be a good mom, right? Like, how can we start preparing our hearts now for motherhood later?
Oh, it's such a good question. This is going to seem surprising. Okay. Remember I told you about the survey with 1,000 women?
Yeah.
I asked about mom guilt and what was the number one cause of mom guilt. It was not us. It was not our spouses. It was not our family or our friends. It was social media. So one of the best ways we can do to help ourselves is to understand what social media is doing to us. So you open up social media and there's a picture of a woman and it's a professional photo and everyone's matching and the dog is smiling. And meanwhile, your dog ate a sock and is throwing up on the carpet, right? The thing that we need to be aware of is the majority of big accounts like that are people who are now quote unquote influencers. Whether they're writing books or they're sharing affiliate codes. No shame in that game, but it's a business.
That's right.
So everything, we know that people post their highlight reels. We post our vacation photos. We post swimming with a dolphin at Discovery Cove. That's what social media is. But when you start looking at people who are influencers who have 200, 300, and they're always like, I just grew this wheat in my backyard so I could grind my own organic wheat and make bread for my baby's lunch today. You know, here's a code for 20% off the pants I'm wearing. We got to unfollow those accounts. So way before you have kids, just unfollow them because they will hurt your heart when you have kids because none of it is real. As we are innocently scrolling our phone, and you will be inundated with videos and pictures of women with kids with professional photography and having their hair done and professional makeup, and you'll go, oh, something in the back of your head, oh, they're getting it right and I'm getting it wrong because I'm in the same clothes for 3 days in a row, and you want to throw your phone across the room. For a mom and for any woman, I think it's really important that we take a look at how we're we're using social media. I love social media, but I think in the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, more and more studies are going to come out about how completely damaging it was.
Yeah, I agree.
We need to follow people we know, people who we know are going to be encouraging, people who we know can teach us something or to make us laugh. Or I follow, groundhog accounts and roller coaster accounts and professors at business schools. That makes me happy. But we really have to take a look at the accounts that we're following, because that will steal our joy faster than anything else.
I completely agree. I'm going to send you an account that's been a recent follow for me after we get off. Have you seen Arthur the Mushroom Forager? He's like 6 and he forages mushrooms, and he gets on Instagram. I don't know if he's Irish or British. I think he may be British. So he has this lovely accent, and he's like 6 years old, and he has long curly hair. He's a delight. And me and my husband send Arthur back and forth to each other every day. Anyway, he's giving us so much joy. And I messaged my husband this morning on the topic of motherhood, and I said, can we please love and nurture our children so that they will love something, anything, even mushrooms, as much as Arthur loves mushrooms, because I adore him. So anyway,
that's the kind of influencer I can get behind. If he wants to share a 20% off code for the shirt he's wearing, we'll buy that shirt.
We will buy it every day.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, well, I am so excited about this message. Before we go, I'm going to have you share about where people can grab it here in just a minute. But there's a question that I ask every guest that comes on the podcast, which you've been on the show before. It's called Radical Radiance, with a heart to really help women see what it looks like and how do we radiate the heart of Jesus in our life, our work, our motherhood, our relationships. And so I love asking the question, Alli, in this season of your life, what about Jesus makes you radiant?
That I know that no matter what difficult things come down the pike, that he knew they were coming and he was planning them out to be there for me and to take care of me, and that he's always working things out for my good. Bad things are going to happen, but he's there and he'll make sure I'm okay through them.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, I want you to share with everybody, where can they grab the book? Where can they connect with you? All of those things after the episode.
Yes, Amazon is easy for the paperback, but I will say we put in a massive extra portion of the book on the Audible version.
Okay.
So I talk about how to lighten your mental load as a mom and give women scripts on exactly how to say things to their spouses to get the help they need. So that's on the Audible version. And then I'm Alli Worthington everywhere. AlliWorthington.com. Podcast is the Alli Worthington Show. And thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, I've loved it. I just was so excited to reconnect with you and super excited about this book. And I know you've put so much hard work into it, and it's going to help a lot of moms. So I'm super grateful. Alli, thanks for being with me.
Thanks so much.